I'm on the streak today. This is 3x that I've been on here, and I might make it 4 depending on how the night unfolds. I want to make it 4. The reason you're seeing me on here so much today is because I didn't work today. Ooh, amazing. That's the reason why I've been on here. And normally, sometimes I get on here for 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I gotta go. Somebody's calling me, my boss is calling me, a client is calling me, I'm at a client's house, you know. I picked this day, honestly, at complete random. At my last place of employment, I set out a goal where I said, I am going to take one day a month, every single month, as a mental health day. And we got 12 days to use for our PTO, and that's how I did it. I know that screwed me out of getting a full vacation, 6, 7, 8, 9 consecutive months to have 2 weeks off in a row. It doesn't work for me. Kudos to people who manage to be able to do that. Like, oh, I'm saving and storing my vacation time, and then they will work consecutively for months and then use their little vacation time to go to Abu Dhabi for 2 weeks. I'm like, good for you, but I can't function for that many months in a row. So sometimes I have a habit of just looking on the calendar at the beginning of the month and saying, oh, December 11 looks like the day. I'm off on December 11, so I'm just not going to work that day. And when I tell you, I had things to do today too. Work-wise, I left a big to-do pile on my plate, and I just didn't care because I'm like, I'm not some robot that can just work continuously until the day I die. So I took today off. Excuse me. It was extremely refreshing. Some updates. Okay. Those of you who follow my membership page know that John Brennan asked me, maybe, I want to say a year ago at this point. I want to say he asked me last year at this point if I want to be, hi Queen, if I want to be on his podcast, on an episode of his podcast, Hello Shorts Guru. And I told him, yes, I do. So I've been waiting, and he's been being like, can you do this time? Can you do this day? Can you do this time? And he has, in terms of the reality TV community, he's had some heavy hitters on his podcast. He's had Tech. He's had Cyrus. He's had Ayana. He's had like a bunch of people. He's had some older cast. He's had some younger cast. He's had what's this guy's name? Eric from The Real World season 1. He's had what is this other guy? He's had a lot of people. Basically, he's had a lot of names in the reality TV industry on that podcast. Not that makes a difference for me personally, because John is a good guy. He's been on my podcast. He's been on my YouTube page. I don't have a podcast. He's been on my YouTube page a couple of times. His podcast is great if you haven't checked it out. And I'm so excited because I think I've personally been interviewed 2 to 3 times, 4 times maybe. But that was years ago, and never by, I'm not going to say not by anyone of significance. I'm going to say not by anyone who is known. I've been interviewed by friends, and I've been interviewed by like one person who I think I asked them. I was trying to learn about podcasting, and I asked them for an interview. Thanks for the subscription, Queen. Slow your roads. What are you saying? I think it's time for you to be off the channel. Bye. So, anyways, I'm sorry about that. I had to clean up some So as I was saying, tomorrow I'm going to be getting an interview from John. John Brennan is from season 2 of The Real World. The Real World California, it was actually called. And then he came back to do, I don't know, 4 seasons or so of The Challenge. And then when they did Real World Homecoming, he came back that. So now he's been doing this podcast with the infamous Beth. Beth is from his same season of The Real World, but she did several seasons of The Challenge, and has even come back and did, I think it was All Stars 1, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was All Stars 1, and she has many moments on The Challenge. If you don't know Beth S. So they are going to be interviewing me tomorrow. I don't know her personally. I know him because we connected via Ayana. Shout out to Ayana from not the Real World, Road Rules and The Challenge. What else was I gonna say? Oh, so Tori has an event. Tori from The Challenge has an event in New York City this Friday. I got a ticket for it, and I am going to show up to that event. Do I still have this thing in the car? It's probably in the back somewhere. Anyways, I'm going to show up to the event as Carl. Carl is making another appearance, and I can't wait to see Tori's reaction to that. It's probably going to be even more over the top than Kara, because Kara knows me a little bit now, so she knows that I'm over the top when I come to these things. But I met Tori once before, but I haven't communicated with Tori outside of that one meeting. So she might not even remember meeting me for all I know, because when I went to her first event, I didn't bring anything. I didn't do anything. It was like a poetry reading. So that was she had a poetry book called Soul Spill. And it was kind of a cool vibe. It was too chill of a vibe for me to want to go in there and have any kind of a gimmick. But this time, I don't know. I actually don't know the vibes for this. I'm just kind of doing this. I think she would find it funny. I think she's quirky. And I think she has a quirky sense of humor. And I think she would find it hella funny. I'm even preparing my Carl mannerisms a little bit, because when I put the thing on for the Challenge Mania event, I didn't really know whether I would have the opportunity to really be Carl. I do have a video that I didn't post. It's only a few seconds, but I was trying to imitate something that Carl did. I don't think Polly got it. I don't think either of them got it, but I was imitating when Michelle and Tori were fighting over Carl, and Carl was like, ladies, don't fight over me. So I said that same thing. I said that same line. But regardless, that's gonna be funny. No, I don't think they put it on their podcast the same day. I'll give everyone updates when he gives me the date. That they might put it up the same day, because if I remember correctly, they interviewed Ayana. No, I don't think they put it on the same day. So I'll let you know whenever that gets put up. I had something else I was gonna say, and I can't remember it anymore. The interview, okay, the interview with John and Beth, the Tori event. I want to go to the Survivor event. I have not got myself a ticket for that yet next week, but I'm strongly considering it. That's three things. Let's see. Challenge meet the Tory event. Oh yes, I did reach out also to Kara. I have not officially booked her yet, but I at least reached out to let her know my intent is to do so, either late end of this year or maybe or like going into January or like early January. So she hasn't responded to me yet, but that's typically how it is. It's not like she responds to me every day. I said this before. I take it that her and like Wes for sure, they delegate certain times where they respond to fans. Like they probably have to compartmentalize everything to where they're like, I can only spend these specific times doing all the things that I do with fans, and the rest of the time is like my personal time or my business time. But anyways, I did, like, that interview is gonna pop off. So I say all that to say there's a lot of things going on for me right now. I did say that I will be taking 2025 into consideration of, continuing with the page and seeing whether that happens or not. But the thing about me is I will never give up anything without trying my best to make something happen before it gets to that point. So that's the reason why you see me pushing myself a little bit extra, because I really do want to learn the formula, and if the worst possible thing that could happen, look, I'm just somebody who turned on my camera one day and was like, let me just speak to the people and see what happens. And I randomly just got some people following me, and I'm like, I have people following me on YouTube? How did that happen? Because when I tell you, I've had Facebook for years, I've had Instagram for years, I've had whatever platforms are out there for years. I have never been one of those people who has a max capacity where you can't add me on a platform because I have 5,000 friends already or I have X amount of followers where it's to max capacity. I was rather surprised when I was speaking and people started listening. So, now I'm 2 years in. This is like the end of my second year in the YouTube partnership program. And I can count every dollar that they've given me, and that's not a good thing. So I want to get to a point where I figure out how best to maximize my platform. There's a lot of things that I can do for that, but always going to be on the grind, working on that. I've already started working on that, if you haven't noticed. I not figured out some things, but I've started to put more time back into this recently, because a plant is not going to grow unless you water it. So it's not that you're just going to get the plant and put it by the window and then all of a sudden you come back and it's just blooming. It's just blooming and all the leaves are green and it's exactly the thing that it was supposed to be. No, getting it is only the first step. You have to figure out placement. You have to figure out timing. You have to adjust for changes in the weather. You have to water it. You have to make sure it's getting enough water. You got to look at it every day and be like, what could I be doing differently or better? It's a metaphor. I think of life, everything that I think about in life, I think of in a metaphoric way. So It's not like I've done everything that I could possibly do for this page, and there's just no more possible options for me to make it better. So I'm working. Today was a pretty good day. I'm glad that I went to the show. It just didn't go exactly how I wanted it to go. Just because I had never been to that particular show, so I didn't know it was going to be quite like it was. It wasn't a bad show. I did like the show. It was kind of funny. It wasn't exactly what I expected, but I still enjoyed my time there. But I think the key thing for me is forcing myself into different environments, because I've realized recently I am a home body. If left to my own devices, I could sit at home day after day. And people are like, how could you be a homebody when you love going outside and you love exercising? Yeah, exercising is not the same thing as socializing. I mean, it can be if you're doing classes or whatever, but for me, exercising is not quite the same thing as socializing. It's just, I like being outside. Yes, I do like walking, and I do like doing outdoor exercise activities and things like that. But aside from that, aside from exercise and maybe just getting some errands done, which is a necessity, and just being outside and getting some fresh air, I can basically sit in my house for days. Give me like an hour outside per day, and the rest of the time I can just sit in the house and I'll be very content. But the thing is, I'm actually a little bit more content when I socialize, and I don't realize it until I get there, because I have a thing that is called agoraphobia, and usually when I say that, you don't know what it is unless you had it or someone you know had it or has it. And agoraphobia, just not to be scientific about it, it's when you develop a fear, an intense fear of leaving your safe space, so you stop leaving it. So for me, my safe space was my house. And the reason it was my safe space is because when I would leave my house, I would get these panic attacks every single day. So the panic attacks were scary and they were intense, and they were happening everywhere at a certain point. And the thing is, the panic attacks were still happening in my safe space, which is my house. But I felt more comfortable having the panic attack in my house because nobody was going to see me having the panic attack. And I could just go to my room, lay in bed, do some breathing exercises, listen to music, try whatever I could do to stop the panic attack. So you kind of develop this intense and irrational fear that you are going to have a panic attack in a space that is not safe for you. And then you start developing this irrational fear of being outside. So I was inside my house for almost a year. And when I say inside, I don't mean sometimes. I don't mean most of the time. I mean, I literally did not leave my house for 1 year. I mean, I left my house. I did leave my house. Okay, I left my house for doctor's appointments and for psychotherapy. That's what I left my house for. But aside from those two things, and that was with the help of some Xanax. So in the absence of those two things, I did not leave my house for anything else for close to a year. So I started leaving my house again with the help of a therapist. And the therapist did something with me called gradual exposure therapy. They used to do this technique called flooding, which was to me a terrible technique. Like, let's say if you're scared of snakes, like if you are deathly afraid of snakes, snakes are around you, you freak out, you get panic attacks, whatever. The solution would be to, like, you know those Fear Factor containers where it would be filled with snakes, and then you lay in the thing, and then they'll put the snakes or the bugs or whatever it is all over you. That was flooding. One quick second. Sorry about that. Yeah, so basically flooding was to take the stimulus, to take the thing that makes you fearful, and then put you around a lot of that thing. Like if I'm scared of going on the plane, my therapy is to get on a plane right now and go on a long flight. And that is supposed to just like shock the system and shock it back to reality and take away the fear from you. And I think I even tried something like that, but before I went to therapy, I was like, you know what? I'm so scared of leaving this house. I'm going to just get out of the house and I'm going to go some long distance, and I'm going to just tell myself that this is just, the fear is just an illusion. No, it doesn't. Maybe it works that way. It can work that way for a small percentage of people, but studies have shown over time that those methods do more harm than good. So gradual exposure therapy was simple. You slowly expose yourself to the stimuli again. So in my case, what she told me to do was, let's get you comfortable with being outside again. So I would have to, she said, go outside and sit on your porch for like a minute, as much as you can tolerate. If you can tolerate a minute, do a minute. If you can tolerate 15 seconds, do 15 seconds, but try to get up to a minute. And sit down on the steps, maybe put some music on, and then just do some deep breathing for that time. So the first day that I did it, that's literally what I did. I sat on the steps, I did some deep breathing, I set a timer for like a minute, I went back inside, I was done for the day. That was my assignment for that day. I completed that assignment, and that was it for the day. Day 2, try to get out there for like an extra, let's say an extra 30 seconds. Okay, so I try to get out there for a minute and 30 seconds. I tried for a minute and 30, I only got to maybe 45. So I'm like, okay, the first day I got to a minute, the second day I got to 45. Even though it was not the minute and a half that I tried for, every time I sat outside and forced myself to get outside for the day, I was retraining my brain to know that I wasn't in danger by being outside. So it was replacing the irrational fear with, rational memories of me being outside and nothing catastrophic happening. So I did that, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. I had to do that with everything. My life was intense, man. Sometimes people wonder how I am the way that I am now, or why I'm so serious protecting my mental health and protecting my peace. They just don't understand the things that I've actually been through in life and how I'm so not willing to go through those things again. So I did that, I did the gradual exposure thing with getting outside. I did it with driving again, because there was a time where if I sit down in this driver's seat and turn the key, my heart is racing. I would have to get right out of the car. I couldn't drive for like 2 years. I was terrified to turn on my car. I had to do it with exercise. I still have a little bit of problems with exercise at times where I have exercise anxiety, but I can work through it. When those palpitations come, though, I do get scared by that. But for the most part, y'all see the things that I do when I exercise, so I work through that. But I was in a place in life where it was very dark for me, very dark life, where I found no enjoyment out of life, where I was not communicating with anybody. I had no social life at all. The only people that were going to see me were the people who lived in those four walls with me, mom and dad. The only other people that were talking to me were like 3 to 5 very consistent friends that I love dearly to this day because they never left, and a couple of family members who would never give up on me. Man, this phone is ringing now. This phone is ringing now. Let's see. We've come this far. That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah. So I got myself to a point now. I'm wrapping this up. I need to wrap this up. I got myself to a point now where when 2020 happened, when we had the pandemic in full force, and I had to go back into my house, it was not good for me because I started to feel some of those initial agoraphobia feelings that I had before come back to me. And I realized that someone like me, I have to actually force myself to an extent. I'm never going to be like, I'm out every day socializing with all these different people. That's not me. I'm not a social butterfly like that. I'm never going to be that. But I am somebody who requires a certain amount of social interaction with people in order to function the way that I need to function. It's a part of me. It's a part of me that I need. And when I don't do it enough, I get sick. As crazy as that might actually sound, it is so true. 2020 was crazy. Untie Studios. I actually need that balance in my life. Because if I don't have that balance, I shrink back into my shell. And that shell was not a good place to be. There's a saying that I got out of a fortune cookie that said, ships are safest in the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for. I don't know where you live, Untie. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, Untie Studios. I don't know where you live, but yeah, in New York, toilet paper, the produce aisle was unavailable. You could not buy fruits and vegetables. You could not buy Bounty rolls. Like it was a crazy time. It was a crazy time. If I saw a Bounty roll, I would be like, it's Christmas. It's Christmas out here. I actually did some cool things during that time period because there was a lot of elderly people that my friends and family told me about that were not able to. They were not necessarily not able to go to the store, but they were fearful because of being in the at-risk population. So I volunteered to go shopping for them. So I spent my mornings going shopping and making like Costco runs, and then hand delivering people the food. I live in Poland and the stores were crazy. Oh wow, what was it like in Poland? Shout out to Poland. Not available Friday, Thursday. Okay. I did everything for the Iris. Oh really? Oh. Anyways, thank you to my new subscribers. Thank you to my old subscribers. Appreciate everybody. And I'm jumping off, but I'm on here pretty regularly in the last month, I would say, and I plan to keep that trend going. I'm gonna have content. I'm gonna have a lot of content for y'all. I still have content that I've made that I still haven't uploaded yet, so you're gonna see a lot of updates from me. Keep that notification bell lit up, and talk to y'all soon. Like, comment, and subscribe also. Appreciate y'all.